Good evening, everyone. We'll open the meeting up. Can we please rise for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I'll open the meeting up to public comment. Just a reminder that the front end of public comment is for agenda items only. The back end could be general comments. So we'll open it up to public comment.
I think it's on, right? It's good? All right, so my name is Jenny Letizia. I am a kindergarten teacher at Highland Elementary School. And I, wrote a little speech of what I wanted to say. Good evening. I just have a few thoughts that I wanted to share tonight. In my interview with Mr. Freer, Mr. Zimmer, and Dr. Boyd, we discussed why they chose Highland as their place to work. They shared that they chose Highland because of how close-knit the community is among staff members, families, and students, and that you wouldn't find that anywhere else. Upon hearing this, I wondered if that was something all school districts say, or if it was really true. Now that I have experienced what it's like to work in Highland, I can say that it really is true. The news that I would be cut at the end of this year was challenging for many reasons. One being the thought of going through the application and interview process again. Two, leaving the staff members that I've grown so close to and leaned on for support in my first year of teaching. Lastly, the one that has impacted me the most is not being able to see my kindergartners move on to first grade. I wish you all could have been there the day that I broke the news to my kindergartners that I would not be their teacher next year. They were not only confused but upset they would not be in my class anymore. I reassured them that they would always be welcome to stop by my classroom on the way to first grade. But now I have to break the news to them that I will not be here next year. I want to thank everyone who has helped me through the first year of teaching and given me the opportunity to experience what it's like to work in a great district like Highland. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I wrote something too. Hi, my name is Amy Salazar. I was hired at the end of last school year, beginning of the summer, as a leave replacement in kindergarten. I knew Highland was going to be a great fit for me right from the interview. I felt very welcome and at ease. I was told there would be opportunities for full-time positions in the next year if I got the leave replacement. When Mr. Freer called me to offer me the leave replacement, he spoke of next year for me here as well. I spent the entire year believing that I would have a future here at Highland, and now I don't. I have been in several different districts, trying to find my happy place and where I belong. To me, it truly has been a quest for career happiness. I can safely say that I found that happiness and belonging here at Highland Elementary School. The families of our Highland students are involved, engaged, and really work with the school to do what's best for their children. The kindergarten team is wonderful and creative. These women are hardworking, and they truly, truly care about the academic and social well-being of their students. The administrators here are very supportive and open, and they want their teachers to feel successful. Our superintendent is kind and supportive as well, doing all he can to save positions for people like me for next year. And I know our school board is as well. I thank you for all you have done to save teachers like me in my current situation. I feel I have finally found my happy place, and now there is no longer a place for me here. The only emotion I have been feeling lately is sad. I am sad I will not get to see these students next year. I will not be there for them to visit me on their way to first grade. I will not get to work with the kindergarten team who became close friends of mine. I may not have supportive administrators, superintendents, or a school board wherever I end up. I will always look back at Highland as the best teaching year of my career, and I truly don't think I will be able to find another place quite like it. Having to leave such a wonderful and fulfilling place like Highland is very, very sad. Thank you for doing all that you can for us. Thank you for making calls to politicians. Thank you for asking families to write emails. Thank you for postponing this vote until today. I see how sad these cuts are making you too. I can only hope that this sadness is all for nothing, and there will be a position for me in my happy place of Highland Elementary School for next year and for the years to come. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I tried to speak last week, very unsuccessfully. So I wrote a letter to the board very late yesterday. And our email system, I noticed that not everyone was able to read it, so I did want to attempt to read it here. So I apologize if it's a little lengthy. So my letter reads, I'm writing to you with the utmost sincerity in imploring you to reconsider the planned staff reductions at Highland's Art Department. I appreciate the difficult position you are all in, as cuts must be made to our school budget, and I do not envy the weight you must bear. However, I believe it is my responsibility to advocate not only for my position as the elementary art teacher, but for the Highland Art Program, and most importantly, our students. Highland has felt like home since my initial interview with Mr. Freer, Ms. Babineau, Ms. Adamek 5 years ago. The applicant scheduled after me canceled, and our conversation continued with lots of laughter and lots of very useful information. As the conversation began to run into its second hour, I learned so much about the position and even more about how welcoming the Highland community really is. I was leaving one of the most prestigious and high-paying districts in the state, and I couldn't have been more excited to come join Highland. I regularly reflect on this life-changing choice with utter gratitude and peace, knowing I made the right choice and that Highland is where I belong as a teacher, a mentor, and a colleague. I've been dedicated to the Highland School District for years, and after being awarded tenure last year, I believe the Board of Ed agrees. My resume shows some of the contributions I've made to Highland, such as serving as the chair of the Elementary Direct Team, establishing an elementary art club, co-creating our Bark video, and many other accomplishments. What I'm most proud of, however, is what paper cannot effectively capture: my relationships with our students. Over the past 5 years, I've come to know the children of Highland Elementary and have established myself as a teacher they can trust and learn from. I've had several university students observe my classroom and student teach in my classroom, and they have all generously noted I offer one of the most welcome classrooms they've ever seen. Every fiber of my teaching practice is devoted to fostering creativity in all of my students and providing avenues for them to feel successful about their artwork and about their overall school experience. Beyond my personal dedication and commitment to the Highland District, the prospect of cutting the art department below 4 teachers gives me great concerns. According to the National Library of Medicine, rates of anxiety and depression in adolescents have increased by over 20% since COVID and over 61% since 2005. When considering the myriad of studies that are very conclusive connecting art making and access to art education as effective tools for mental health, I'm disheartened at the choice to cut art opportunities within our district. While I believe the Board of Education does indeed support the arts, it is our actions as a district that speak the loudest. Aside from the immediate loss of reducing my position, cutting upper level courses, and severely limiting student access to the arts, I believe our art program has begun a trend of growing interest over the past few years. After establishing the Elementary Art Club for 4th and 5th graders just 2 years ago, I need to conduct such a rigorous application process because over 60 students are hoping to be in it. I also have a very high number of parents who have reached out to me to teach classes outside of the school or to find classes in Highland. So I've created a section on my school website to help them find those resources that are not available beyond what I can do at the elementary level. Additionally, I get contacted by middle school students who want to help at art club or want to earn service hours because they are already feeling the void of not having art in 7th grade. As these incredible, talented young artists move out of the elementary school and onto middle school and high school, I'm hoping Highland will continue to make efforts to meet their needs and offer us a rigorous art program. I am submitting this most earnest plea in good faith and without resentment, with all of the hope I could muster at this difficult time. I'm hoping to maintain my position in the elementary school on a full-time basis, or in a capacity greater than half-time that would keep me at Highland without financial turmoil. I'm hoping to continue working with the most supportive and committed colleagues I've ever known. And above all, I'm hoping to continue working with the students I've come to know and love so much, to continuing welcoming students into my classroom as a place of creativity and comfort where they can learn and grow into the people they are becoming. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Katina Leone. I am a graduate of Highland. My son was a graduate of Highland, and my daughter is currently an elementary student. I'm also an educator for the past 29 years in both New York and Kansas. In my 29 years, I have seen so much that has shocked and amazed me. I'm here to talk about technology and art in students' lives. I have watched students with anxiety and issues in focus who have been able to sit down during a technology project, work with their hands, focus, and be engaged. I have watched students with disabilities, mental disabilities, and issues with friendship, peers, and emotions who have been able to not been able to focus on their projects in school and had no way of vocalizing what they're feeling, who have been able to do so through art and music and technology. I think that we need to take that into consideration as it is. Mental health budget cuts for positions were done last year. We did not fill some of the mental health positions as counselors in our district. And I think we really need to take that into consideration when we're looking at also removing anything from art and these fields. They are not just a fun activity or club. They are really there for the success of students, both emotionally, physically, and in their academic career. Thank you.
And it's a credit to all these wonderful teachers. Any type of cut to personnel of this caliber is not right. I understand budgets. I work in higher education. I implore you to look for other methods. It's easy to take a whole bunch of kids and put them in a room. Think of how many kids you can put into this room. That's not the answer. It isn't. These teachers are the answer to our kids. Art, tech, kindergarten, all the way up through senior year. You've chosen to sit in these seats. You've been elected, but you have made a conscious decision to be part of education at the most important levels. It is up to you to figure this out in the best way. I am a firm believer that if you take these steps that have been talked about, the first time's the hardest, but it becomes very, very easy as you move forward. Whether it's you that have to make the next decision, or in 10 years, the precedent gets set now. Oh, well, they did it. A half a position here. Oh, we can put 5 more kids there. These teachers are already overworked. I'm lucky. My 3 kids have adjusted incredibly well. But you want to know something? It's because of these people. You can't put any more pressure on them by just stuffing kids into classrooms and saying we're not cutting programming. It's not about that all the time. Again, I'm not going to pontificate too much. You have my letter. I sincerely ask you to read it again. And for the benefit of the children of Highland School District, I know it's not easy, but let's do the right thing here. Thank you.
That was a long walk. I'm sorry. Hi, my name is Lorelai Amato, and I teach global history and U.S. history here at the high school. For the last 2 years, I have felt so welcomed and supported in this school district, and I could not be happier to have landed somewhere so amazing. I have directed the last 2 school musicals here and watched our little club grow, and it's been really incredible seeing some of my students who are quiet and shy in class really blossom on stage has been one of my greatest joys of teaching and directing. I'm originally from Long Island, and I contemplated moving back, but knowing that Highland felt like home, I recently bought a home around here to cement my life in the Hudson Valley. Sorry, I'm crying. The thought of not being here next year is truly heartbreaking. Seeing my students every day and knowing that I won't be able to teach and direct them next year is something that I have not wanted to come to terms with. It's been really hard for me to think about. So thank you for postponing the vote, and thank you for everything you have done to try and save our positions. I have loved every minute of being a teacher in Highland, and I really hope I get to continue being one. Thank you.
My name is Robert Party. I've lived in Highland for 44 years, but probably, according to some of the long-timers here, as I was told when I first moved here, you haven't lived here long enough, Mr. Party, to have any say. I'm going to have a say today. I find it unconscionable about the cuts to the arts and the other programs. The lack of thinking that the state would not cut your budget means to me that you people, the board, has not got a clue on how you should be operating. Not at all. I find it amazing that for the facilities, we can come up with a reserve, but no way can you come up with a reserve just in case your programs don't get approved in the budget to make up the same kind of difference. A little out of the box thinking. I find it unconscionable that we're going to have $1 million or whatever in a football field where we're not going to be able to have kids learn how to play instruments, et cetera, et cetera. Unconscionable. My opinion, and my father was a retired superintendent of schools, my mother was a teacher, I got more teachers. It was so attractive that I decided not to do it as a living and became an engineer, which is even worse. But the bottom line is that you didn't do your job. You didn't anticipate. And that was part of your job, is to anticipate. You didn't anticipate having asbestos abatement in your schools. That's a debacle you're dealing with now. You didn't anticipate that, oh my God, they might cut our budget money. I've been working for government, but retired from government, and I still do it as an engineer on projects. And I know that whenever they make a budget, the next year you better plan on, well, what happens if they cut it? Because after doing this for 54 years, I can tell you, they do cut budgets. And you're supposed to plan ahead, and you haven't. And that is incumbent upon the administrators. I know you got handed this furball, but that's part of your job. You've been long enough in education as a superintendent, assistant superintendent. This isn't your first budget cut. If it is, well, welcome to the real world. And as far as I'm concerned, I understand you volunteered for this project to be elected, but as far as I'm concerned, basically, especially the long-term serving ones, you should know better. You've been down this road before. You should know better. And always, it always is. It was 1966 when I graduated from high school. The first time the budget wanted to be cut, they always wanted to do arts and sciences and the stuff that, because we know everybody plays football after they graduate from high school. Everybody plays basketball after they graduate from high school, or soccer. Nobody really watches TV and enjoys the entertainment. And where do you think that entertainment comes from? Not an hour on Sunday or 2 hours on Sunday watching the Jets lose. It's all the other programs, which are brought to you by people who basically got good training in the arts and sciences. Do your job. As far as I'm concerned, a couple of you should resign. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name's Amy Madalena. I'm a mother of 2 children in the district and trained as a family doctor. I think you're making a big mistake making the cuts to the art program that you are. My daughter in high school has learned a tremendous amount from the art program. I have seen kids that don't fall in line with the traditional academic program succeed tremendously by having access to the arts that they have in Highland. I've also seen people like my daughter who succeed very well academically, but would not have made it through as the successful and together people that they are without being able to express themselves creatively and have the great support and developmental help that they've had from their art teachers here. Mr. Castellanos is really, really amazing, as well as the other art teachers that they've had. But, you know, in high school, with all of the difficulty following COVID and, you know, anxiety, depression that I've seen in some of the kids, I think that people like Mr. Castellanos has really been able to just help kids find their voice and find their confidence. And for, you know, like I know it's art electives that you say are going away, but this includes like rigorous academic programs like AP art, college art. This is, you know, people's opportunity to go to art school. I mean, what are these kids going to do? How will they study art? So I ask you to reconsider this. Thank you.
So Mr. Party spoke about some outside of the box thinking. I'm a dentist, my wife is a physician. The best dentist I know, the best physician I know, we're trained in the arts. My best friend's a cello player, he's the best dentist I know. So he spoke about thinking outside of the box with the budget. It's not as cut and dry as I take bio, I'm a good physician. Actually, the people who I know who are the best in the sciences, sometimes we're the worst doctors because they don't get people. The arts are so important, and I can't believe we're just axing them. Because you know what? Like, Highland's awesome. There's a lot of creative people here. There's a lot of great people here. I just think it's a really big mistake for the future of the kids in our community. Thank you.
Hi. My name is Kiera Herbert, and I'm currently a senior here at Highland High School. I came here today to ask you, coming from a place of passion and love, to reconsider the cuts being made to the art and music programs. I feel as though every student deserves to feel and deserves the right to be creative. Eliminating the art programs, as well as the music programs, as well as the teachers that belong to those programs, will hinder the opportunities available for students looking to pursue the arts. The art and music teachers in this district have stuck with me, motivated me, and helped me to get to where I am today. I can confidently say that I wouldn't be as happy or as accomplished as I am without them. Personally, I thrive off creativity. The experience I've had within the arts here in Highland has been precious, and I will cherish these moments forever. Hearing that the next generation of students won't get to see that kind of passion for the arts makes me fear where this district will end up. If we take away the arts now, what will follow? How will students create the portfolios they need to get to art school? How will students build a resume? How will students grow and love for their interest in the arts if they've never got the chance? We need to engage, inspire, and spread the love for all students, no matter what their goals and identities are. Without art in my own life, I couldn't say where I would be now. I physically feel starved when I can't be creative, both in music and in art. And for that, I specifically want to thank teachers such as Ms. Matthews and Mr. Castellanos for paving that path for me. So please, I beg you, invest in the dreams of every student. Do everything in your power not to take those away from them, because there are plenty of kids, just like me, hoping for those same opportunities. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Erin. I'm a junior here at Highland High School, and it's hard to put into words what these teachers have done for me as a student and have helped me find my path on what I want to do when I grow up and what I want to do when I'm older. And it's just so horrible to see that I will not be able to see them next year, and it really just, it hurts to see the people I grew up with, people that helped me to get where I am now, will not be able to see me succeed in the following years. So thank you.
Hello. My name is Kai Roper, and I'm also a student at Highland High School. Sorry. Erin, who just spoke, she has won awards and scholarships for her art and academic performance. Sorry. And she actually has a full ride to Ulster. Her after she got, oh my gosh, I am so sorry. Wait. Okay. After she graduates, and that is because of the college classes that were taught by Mr. Castellanos that she was able to take her sophomore, junior, and not her senior years. And you don't get that kind of instruction for the arts. Sorry. In a lot of, like, you can't just go to school and get critiques and guidance like you can in Mr. Castellanos' classroom. And he really works to help his students succeed once they graduate. And I think that's very important. And of course, art is important beyond wanting to be in that career field, but for those who want their jobs to be to create and to inspire, it's important to get that kind of specialized guidance. And like I said, you can't get that everywhere. Highland is an outlier in that it has 2 college art classes. And also the French teacher, Mr. Welsh, sorry, is one of the most committed and inspiring, sorry, teachers that has ever been in this district. And the thought of him teaching 6 grades, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th, and 12th, all in one day, every day, is amazing. That he would consider doing that for his students to have a place to learn and also a safe space to be, because he's one of the nicest and most welcoming teachers at the school. Sorry. But yes, I just wanted to say that. So, thank you.
Hi, my name's Christina Markey, and you don't see a lot of our members here from the HSA right now is because a lot of them might still be working. We have custodial workers that are still cleaning at this time. You might have drivers out that are still sending our kids out for different school events, sports events. I haven't been working for the district that many years, but I started in 2020, and my children have come through the Highland District. Most of you have seen me in the capacity of the PTSA or the PTA at the middle school. I've been here, and I like to volunteer. I'm part of the cuts. I'm going to be laid off. I'm here to remind you that the school won't run without the HSA. from cooking over 600 meals a day, working shoulder to shoulder in that kitchen behind you, as well as to driving several runs just so our kids can get to their sports, giving up spring break to set up everything that you see here, doing the job 2 or more just so it gets done. So I'm just here to remind everyone, we aren't just cutting teachers, but we're also cutting your support staff that you rely on.
Hi, my name's Lorelai Donaldson, and I go to Highland High School. And one of the best part about this school is the music and arts department. When I go to sleep at night, I dream of music and I dream of art. And my teachers here, these are the people who have changed my life. I would never have been such a confident singer if it wasn't for being in choir with Mrs. Matthews. And I wouldn't be so happy every year if I didn't get to do the musical with Miss Amato as director, and if I didn't get to be in French class with Mr. Welch. And if I didn't get all of these things, I wouldn't be the person I am today. And there are people who make jobs out of these things. They're not just fun activities. I mean, look at the walls. These walls are covered in art and infographics and photographs, and there are real people who want to go into these things, and by taking opportunities away from them, you're making it harder for them to get into those careers. And I love music, and it would be one of the saddest things in the world if I didn't get to be in choir anymore. So, yeah.
Hello, I'm Les Castellanos, and I had a whole thing written out, but I don't think I need to read it after these guys have come up. So I'm actually not gonna read it. I just want to be here to thank you guys and the parents, because that was amazing. Thank you. Great. That's it. That's it.
Hi there, my name is Lee Weaver, and I commend all the people, especially the students who are standing up here bravely to speak their minds. And I want to change gears a little bit and speak on behalf of the elementary school. I'm in my 28th year of teaching as a public school teacher, and I have stood up and taken an active role in advocating throughout my career for the needs of young children and the importance of funding public education. The situation that our district is in tonight is unfortunately quite familiar, and I have little new to say this time around. Healthy and effective early childhood programs are the foundation of an early and effective society, and I know that many of you on the board as well, as many others in the room tonight, understand this to be fundamentally true. And we could probably say the same about the arts. So instead of giving the early childhood education as important speech, I'm going to simply ask that you take a closer look at the areas which are being cut. Specifically, because it affects my world, specifically I'm interested in hearing why there are so many cuts to our mandated academic programs in the elementary school. From my understanding, there is a full-time gen ed teacher, which is a retired position, so that's due to attrition. That person's not being replaced. There's a full-time special education teacher being cut, full-time AIS math, and a full-time AIS reading. And again, these are academic mandated programs. Of course, there are numerous other positions that are critical to our success at the elementary school, and I do not mean to slight them by not listing them here. So in addition to the complete loss of these 4 full-time teaching positions, we're also facing a reduction in the number of sections at 3 different grade levels. This means that half of our current student population will be in larger classes next year than they are now during this current school year. In other words, children who are currently in kindergarten, 2nd grade, and 4th grade will be in classrooms next year with higher class sizes. Between the cuts in the teaching positions and the increases in class size, teachers will not be able to meet the needs of their students as thoroughly as they are this year. So tonight I look forward to hearing your discussion, and I hope you can find ways to minimize this potential damage as you make your final budget decisions.
Okay, we'll close public comment. Just want to thank especially the students who got up and spoke, staff members and parents, so thank you. We'll move on to our consent agenda items, and then we'll go into our budget adoption later on in the meeting. So under personnel, we're going to take as a consent agenda A through B.4. Hopefully everyone has the current agenda. So can I have a motion to accept our consent agenda from A to B.4? Motion by Heather, second by Camille. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? So carried. Okay, we'll go into, under business and operations, we'll go into our budget proposition and the property tax report card for the 2024-2025 school year.
I do apologize to the board. I do need to leave for another meeting. Just for the public, last Tuesday when we were meeting and we chose to postpone this meeting, I did indicate to the board that I had a 7 p.m. meeting that I would not be breaking this evening. So unfortunately I have to go. But it's rightfully so that, you know, we hear the public and you have an opportunity to deliberate. So thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Lindsay?
All right, so these are the options for the adoption for the budget for the 24-25 school year. We're going to go over a little bit of review to review the revenue budget. We did receive later on Friday night that the legislative budget was adopted and Save Harmless was restored. There was no other percentage besides Save Harmless. That gave us approximately $80,000 to add to our revenue. We'll go through the expense budget. Also, I have in here options to use the ERS reserve on top of the $80,000. We're going to review contingency budget implications again, and then the adoption of the New York State property tax report card. So this is the first option, is Save Harmless. There's going to be a lot of repeat slides with the different options. But the New York State budget state aid amount came in at $18,826,832, which gives us an increase of $265,563. So that was the addition that was added on to our revenue budget. So with this, that almost $80,000 will be put directly into instruction, and the rest remains the same, giving us that increase, which is around $1.6 million. This gives us our expenses and revenues need to equal. So this would give us an option with Save Harmless to adopt a budget at $54,138,745. Now with that number, we would adopt the property tax report card. These numbers will fluctuate a little during each different option. But again, what was discussed last week is that we would try to fill our unrestricted reserves up to the 4%. Right now it's at 2%. And then we'll get into the restricted reserves later. But these are estimates based on what we think our carryover encumbrances are. So anything that needs to be paid in next year that has been purchased for this year, plus any other reserves that we have left over. So this option is for just by adopting Save Harmless, which would give you a resolution for that $54,138,745. Now we'll go on to option 1 of the addition of $250,000 from the ERS reserve. As I stated last week, there was an increase over the norm in what we have to pay for ERS. So this would be an option for why we could take for those from the ERS restricted reserve to pay for that. So this gives us an option of utilizing $250,000 from that, increasing our revenue, and be able to take that $250,000 and put it into instruction. This difference would bring it up again from that previous slide, I'm sorry, I can't really see, to $54,388,745 for our option 2 for our option 1 with the $250,000 ERS reserve. Same thing with the property tax report card. When the budget number goes up, the numbers will slightly alter, and you have the backup for that as well. Same thing with carryover increases and the reserves. Again, giving you another resolution for option 1 with that $250,000 increase. Finally, same slides. This gives you a $450,000 increase from the use of the ERS reserve. Again, because of the fact that we have an increase over the norm, we can utilize that restricted reserve if you so choose. That would give us an increased revenue from budget to budget of $2,112,265. Again, all of that increase going into instruction. So the new budget amount for this option would be $54,588,745. Again, you'll see the adjusted property tax report card in the backup information from that. Giving you the resolution 2 option that you can choose from. And again, sorry to be so redundant, but we have to present it like this with all options. This goes into what our restricted reserves are. So as you can see, the district has 5 restricted reserves, which means you can only use funds from these reserves on certain things. We have the capital reserve, which again is one of our propositions this year, where we can open up the capital reserve for another 10 years. The plan is not to fund it this year, it's just to transfer that money into the new reserve for the additional 10 years. We have a tax cert reserve, which we do know that we will have a bill for, so we do have to fund it. That's not part of the general budget. It comes right out of this reserve. So we will be funding that portion of this. We have an employee benefit reserve, which is not being funded. We have the ERS, so that's the Employees Retirement Reserve, which is where I'm proposing that we take either that 250 or that 450 out of. And then there's a Teacher's Retirement Reserve as well. And this is what the current projections are. This is estimated at this point. The finals for the reserves are not, the board does not adopt that until August, but this is just what is also uploaded into that property tax report card. Then we have the contingency budget implications. So the budget is allowed to go up twice. If it does not pass 2 times, then what happens automatically, it's a contingency budget. So our tax levy would not increase. So this year our tax levy increase is $1,125,212. What would happen is that no equipment would be able to be purchased, which this year currently budgeted for is $162,275, which would mean additional reductions of $962,937 would need to be made if the budget did not pass for the 2 times prior to that. So that is what the contingency budget implications are. We do have 2 additional propositions besides the budget, which is the purchase of the 2 buses. And then, as I touched on before, that capital reserve is expiring. So this just gives us the ability to have the capital reserve for another 10 years, not adding any funds into that capital reserve, just transferring the money that's already in it. And this brings us back to our budget planning calendar. When the budget is adopted at whichever scenario you choose tonight, that property tax report card will be submitted tomorrow morning. Does anybody have any questions?
Just to add some comments, Lindsay. I had asked Lindsay last Friday and the superintendent to develop those 2 options for us, the 250 and the 450, just to give you an idea of where we can go. There is that little bit of wiggle room. But the downside of that is those are reserves that we have to give back to those reserves. I mean, we can't just keep depleting the reserves. They're restricted reserves, and we have to replenish those at some point in time. And looking forward, years moving forward, they're not that bright, so we have to be very careful about how we move our budget forward. Just to react to some comments that were made earlier, we instructed the administrative team to leave, and this was a quote from our HCA president, leave no stone unturned. We did that. The administrative team looked at every avenue possible to make cuts. Back in March of 2014, our enrollment was 1,822 students. So think of staff back then and what class sizes were. Currently, March of 2014, we have 1,505 students, probably with more staff from 10 years ago. So class sizes were kept quite low. Unfortunately, now with these cuts, some of the class sizes are going to increase slightly, not tremendously, not like they were back 10 years ago. And the last time we had these cuts were during that 2008-2009 crisis. So I think this board has done an excellent job. Some of the senior board members here have done an excellent job over the years to keep costs at a minimum. I want to emphasize one thing. 73 to 75% of our budget is made up of compensation and benefits. There's not a lot of wiggle room besides that. We're mandated to pay our staff, and compensation and benefits is a large part of the budget. So we have very little wiggle room to make adjustments. So we're going to ask the board this evening to look at those scenario 1, scenario 2, and see how we want to move forward. But just out of caution, next year could be as bleak as this year. I know there's been mention out there about piercing the cap. It's something that has to be seriously considered, because the downside of piercing the cap can be catastrophic to this school district. We would not be able to function if we pierce the cap and it gets defeated. Piercing the cap is supermajority vote. Right now, we just need 50+1 to pass a budget. Throughout New York State, and I followed year by year, 98, 97, 98% of school budgets pass when they stay within the 2% cap. There's been some that have gone over and tried to pierce the cap. Probably more than 50% of those school districts failed by piercing the cap. So I just want to caution the board that that avenue needs months of discussion, and that should start right after we adopt this budget. If that's something that this community is going to accept, us piercing the cap, there's serious, serious consequences to that. And discussion has to start sooner than later. It can't be at the 11th hour. I'll turn it over to the superintendent if he has any comments to add at this point in time.
Our students tonight were the bravest of all of us. Standing up there and putting your heart on the line is not an easy thing to do. We are so proud of our kids and what you stand for, and we want to give you everything that we possibly can. I can promise you that my administration has worked tirelessly to try to find any savings that we could find across this district so that it was felt across the district and not in any one department. I know some people aren't going to believe that, but we had hours and hours of conversation about how we could come up with, at the time, it was $1.8 million that we were projected to be short. I could get on a soapbox here and I could attack New York State. I know I've had my conversations, or I've had my comments about New York State in the past. I'm just going to quickly say that when foundation aid was first created, it was a promise to school districts to put money into a system that was going to benefit our communities, first and foremost our students. That formula, created many, many years ago, is a flawed formula. You're going to hear a lot about that. I'm not the only superintendent at this point who is very disappointed in what Albany came up with. My fear was that they were going to return our save harmless and not a penny more. And that fear was recognized on Friday night when my phone started, for lack of a better word, blowing up with outrage from superintendents across the county, friends of mine in other parts of the state, and this was not something that school districts could predict. There was a promise made. New York State promised to stand behind our schools, our students, our teachers, and that promise was not realized in this budget. I want to thank all of the teachers and the community members that have reached out to our legislators. I've spoken about it every single meeting over the last number of months, that you answered the call. We did everything we possibly could do to change the minds in Albany. and I feel like all of our efforts fell on deaf ears. Save Harmless is not enough. Save Harmless, for those that don't know what that was put into place as part of this foundation formula to save schools when you lost some enrollment and that you were promised you were going to get the same amount at least from the year before. Because let's face it, we have lost some enrollment. But we haven't lost enrollment all in one grade level so that I can say those losses equate to this number of teachers. When you lose students and enrollment across a K, 12, 13 grade levels, a few at each grade level makes up a large number. That doesn't mean I can cut staff at every single grade level. The harsh reality is, and it was one of the worst exercises that I've had to participate in this role, but it's not one that I am unused to, that I'm not used to doing as a former elementary principal. Every year I would sit in cabinet meetings, starting in January for a number of years in a row, talking about how are we going to make up the deficit. That is not the mindset, and I've said this before, that's not the mindset that anyone in education should have to go through every single year. And unfortunately, those in Albany, they're the only ones we can turn to other than asking the community to pay more in taxes. And we've had community members come out and say, I can't afford to live in New York State anymore. Please don't raise my taxes. There are two ways to fund the budget: community taxes or foundation aid from Albany. And when those dollars aren't there, we are forced into a very difficult situation where I know every single one of these teachers in this room, I don't want to pit one against another. I don't want to pit a program against another program. But I can tell you that my administration has turned every single stone to try to find a little savings in every department. Where we go from here, what we approve tonight, nothing is set in stone. We have our proposals, but we will listen to the guidance that we get from the Board of Education, who represents the community. The only other thing that I can ask for, and I'm going out on a big limb here, I'm not pushing anyone into retirement, but anyone in a bargaining unit that is thinking of retiring, the sooner you will let us know, the better we are. Now, HTA, you're all set, but HSA folks don't have to let me know they're retiring until the summer. If folks know they're going to retire, I'm imploring you, please let us know now. If you don't know, I'm not pushing you into it, but if you know, let us know, because there are people's jobs on the line that we could possibly save. I guess that's all I have at this point.
Thank you, Joel. So to the Board of Education, this evening, we have a tough task ahead of us. As Lindsay presented, Proposition 1 school budget vote, as it sits right now, would be a $54,138,745 proposition moved forward to the voters. If you elect option 2, which would add the option 1.
Save Harmless is a guarantee.
Yes, Save Harmless is the guarantee. It's part of that Proposition 1. Option 1, which would add the $250,000 to that, would be $54,388,745. And option 2, adding $450,000, would be your $54,588,745. Just a caution, like I mentioned earlier, utilizing those restricted reserves is a gamble. It's kicking the can down the road because we do have to replenish those reserves. They're established for purpose, and we just can't deplete them entirely. So I'll open it up to any discussion from the board members.
Yeah, that's my concern. So I think sitting here, hearing the testimonies from the staff and the students and the families, not one of us sat up here and said we want to come in and cut positions. So we are humans. We value the work that our educators and our support staff do, but these are tough decisions. And one of the things we've talked about was what the future holds. Like, we had a crystal ball that said next year we're going to get all this money, but we don't have that. And so at some point we're going to have to make decisions, and that's really what we've been faced with. So figuring out what can we do, because we can't predict the future, and everything that the planners are showing is that the next 2 budget cycles after this, it's going to be a very tough budget season, and there's going to be even harder conversations. So it's kind of kicking the can, down the road, and we're going to come back to that can. And so that's kind of, I can say that's kind of where our heads have been at with the decisions that we're making today. With the ERS, we have to, again, replenish that. So how does that get replenished down the road is the question that, I would love to know, but that's really, like I said, we would love to save as many jobs, because again, we understand like the work that you do with our kids and supporting. I think just to speak to some of the cuts about, we're not going to have arts programs and music programs and tech programs. We're not eliminating those programs. So I just think that if maybe you could speak to what that is, but I think there's some misinformation about that, that we're not getting rid of the arts, we're not getting rid of music, we're not getting rid of tech. And the other part of the conversation too is, we presented the cuts back in March before spring break. And up until then, we heard very little about anything until today, right? So we had our teachers here, but we didn't hear from their parents. We didn't hear from community members and staff members. And, it's hard. Like, I have a child that's still here in the district, and figuring out, again, everyone's important. So I don't care what your role is in the district. So it's just, again, no one's sitting, so no one's walking away from this conversation feeling that this is, we're doing the best that we can with the information that we have. We waited an extra week. We could have voted last week with what we had, and it would have looked a little bit different than what we have today. So I think as a board, we've done everything we can to support, our students. So.
Heather.
I'll just start off by saying it sucks to sit up here today. Seeing all the teachers, I have children in many of the teachers' classes. I talk with you guys often. It sucks. I think to what Camille's saying, nobody came in here wanting to cut positions. Nobody came in here wanting to cut programs. But unfortunately, as a board, we need to look at the long-term financial stability of the district. And that's what I've been pondering all weekend. Looking at the long-range financial analysis that we had, I think it was back in March, based on conservative estimates, this year our revenues were supposed to be more than our expenses, which would have us in a good position. The next 5 years, I see all red. That means our expenses are higher than our revenues. What was supposed to be favorable by about 1.7 million this year, as we can see, is unfavorable. Next year it's projected to be unfavorable by 2.1. Unfortunately, to me, it just shows that we do need to make some important decisions this year, because this year is not the final year that it's going to be a tough decision to make. And I think to the president's position, it's conversations that we're going to have to start right away to figure out how to make things work moving forward. I'll say from a perspective of reserves, I know it's easy to say this year to pull out of them to save whatever we can. Unfortunately, from what I just said in the financial analysis, it's only going to make it tougher next year. And that's what I struggle with.
not only replenishing that reserve, but then also making that budget next year. So I think that's where we sit, is trying to figure out what we can do with what we have. So I'll throw it out there. I'm not in favor of taking 450 out of the reserves and utilizing that. I believe that we need to either figure out what we can do by using the 250 and being able to replenish it. I think my other concern, and I've kind of beaten a dead horse with this one, every year we roll over $1.15 million. This year we're doing the same thing. For years, I've been trying to push to have that decreased. For a few years, we actually were successful at decreasing it. But then we increased it back up further than we had originally. We are able to roll that over this year, but that's another variable in question. My other concern is our insurance premiums with the incident that we had with the fire at the middle school. I'm not sure what that means for us. I'm not sure if we're going to be looking for new insurance and what those premiums really will be. So there's a lot of uncertainty, which is why I'm not willing to go as high up in pulling out of those reserves.
Janine?
Just to echo a little bit what Camille and Heather said, none of us want to be in this spot. I grew up with an educator who taught in Highland, became an administrator. I'm in higher ed. I understand completely where you all are coming from. I respect each and every single one of you. This is by no means an easy decision. We need to look at the now, but as Heather said, we also have to look at the future. We have to make sure that we not just kick the can down the road and that we don't have a means how we're going to cover what needs to happen in the future as well. I do respect all of the students, and I am so proud of all of you for standing up here today and for voicing your opinion. I applaud you from the bottom of my heart.
Is this better? Thank you. Okay. I just don't, like borrowing that money from those employee reserve accounts, knowing that we're going to have to refund it when we're going to be hurting for money next year and a year after. I'd rather keep that money right where it is, as painful as it is to do that, and maybe rehire a couple people or keep employed a couple people. I just can't see it. I apologize for that. It's going to be our loss as a district because I'm sure most of you people, if not all of you, that are losing your jobs will find employment. I really do. From everything I hear about every one of you, HSA and HTA, qualified people. And I know you'll do something. You'll find something to do, and I think you'll find something in your field. So that's about all I can say to you at this moment in time. I would actually possibly even want to go right back to where our original draft budget was. I just don't see the good things here. We did, contrary to public, opinion right now, we did spread these job losses out across the whole district. Okay, we had an ELA position, we had a social studies position, we have just so many more. You know, it's not, unfortunately, it's not just the art program, you know, that 0.5 position. Yes, I understand how that hurts everybody. And to the students, again, great job tonight. You really, really did a fine job presenting yourself. That's a reflection on everybody else in this room and how they brought you to this point. So at this point in time, I'm in favor of the original draft budget, and that's where we're at.
Just so I'm clear, Tom, the budget would save harmless included, not the option one, which will include 250,000. Okay.
So on your table, for board members, the purple packet is Save Harmless. The blue packet is Save Harmless plus 250 from the reserve, and the gold packet is Save Harmless plus 450 from the reserve, so that you have it right up front so that you can take a look at the property tax report card if you needed to take a look at that more closely. Again, purple, Save Harmless only. Blue, Save Harmless plus 250. Gold, Save Harmless plus 450.
If you need any clarification, I'm sure Lindsay can give it to us at this point. And again, like Lindsay pointed out, with option one and option two, that money will go towards programs.
And Lisa, just so you're aware, we're put them in color order for the board, but once they decide which one they're going to go with, I will give you the actual language so that you have the right proposition.
I just want to, you know, regardless of what we decide tonight and what we put out to the community, just understanding that, you know, if there are cuts and we don't like the cuts, voting down the budget, just the implications of voting down the budget are even more harmful. So just kind of, you know, I just want to put that out there. So the contingency plan that Lindsay put up, like, we're pretty much operating what we have now, and there's a lot more loss. So just understand, you know, it's a very tough position that we're all in here as a board and community, but just to understand just what that would look like if the budget does get voted down. So just want to just make sure that's clear.
I've sat through many of these budget discussions, and back when we had cuts in the past and drastic increases in budgets and percentages, there was a lot of community input. This room was packed with more community members. But I think that kind of dissolved itself a little bit, and the community, I feel as a whole, supports the education that Highland Central School District puts to our students. I think wholeheartedly they support that. So I'm kind of leaning towards adding the $250,000 to our current budget now to keep our programs moving forward. Hopefully, we can start the conversation right after this budget vote of how we can streamline education, not to a degree that we're going to disrupt education, but streamline it that we can be a little bit creative, the ability to reduce costs if we can, to possibly maybe we have to increase some class sizes a touch. I think as our enrollment starts to fall a little bit, and it has over 10 years, and it could continue to drop, we can possibly streamline that. So that's where I am right now. I feel confident that knowing that the community will support us, I'm willing to put the $250,000 with option one moving forward for this year. Again, it's a tough decision for me. I know we're digging into reserves. I know I've heard it over years that we have a lot of reserves, but those reserves are earmarked for purposes, not to just pull from. But I think this is the first time that we're taking from those reserves to kind of offset the budget to reduce the cuts that were being made, and very sure that the community will support us. You know that old saying, silence is golden? Well, I'm going to follow that saying and say silence is golden. You know, we haven't heard from too many community members, and I stressed that, and I said that to you guys at the last meeting. Please join us for our board meetings. Sometimes we have nobody sitting out in the audience except Mary Ann Ingraham. Where's Mary Ann? Is she here this evening? She's up there. I see her. And I mean, that's what we need. We need the community, we need the school community to come to these meetings and give us some ideas of where you feel we can make some cuts. And we can move forward from there. But this discussion's got to start right after this budget vote, moving forward for next school year. So that's where I am. Does everybody have a decision? We'll go around and see where we are, and consensus will move it forward. So I'll move to you, Heather. Okay. You're in favor of option one? Did you said that before? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but.
No, option one. Thank you.
Janine?
Save harmless plus 250.
Tom?
I'll jump forward to option one.
Option one with hesitation. But if it helps, but I just said next year, I'm not gonna be sitting in this seat, but that's gonna be some tough decisions to make next year when it comes to the budget.
Okay, we're going to move to the blue. We're going to move that as our adopted budget for this evening. And I'll read it. Is the correct numbers, Charles? Yeah, I believe it is. Okay, be it resolved that the Highland Central School District adopt the proposed 2024-2025 school budget in the amount of $54,388,745 to present to the voters at the annual meeting on May 21st, 2024, and approve the following proposition. Shall the Board of Education in the Highland Central School District be authorized to expend for budgetary purposes in the 2024-2025 school year the sum of $54,388,745 and to levy the necessary tax therefore. Be it further resolved that the Highland Central School District Board of Education approves the property tax report card and authorizes the submission to the State Education Department. Can I have a motion, please? Motion by Tom, second by Camille. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. You don't normally do a roll call now. I don't think so on this. I want to thank the board. I mean, it was a tough decision. For some of you, this is probably your first decision in budget development that has a lot of stress behind it. I want to thank you for the time that you put into reading all the information that was given to us, and I appreciate that. Okay, moving forward. A health and welfare contract. Be it resolved, the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, approves the following health and welfare contract between the Highland Central School District and Poughkeepsie City School District. Can I have a motion, please? Motion by Heather, second by Janine. Discussion? All those in favor? opposed? So carried. The following candidates are on the ballot for the May election. We have Jennifer Becker, Mike Bakatsias, and Ed Meisel. You have to do that after we do the approval. Be it resolved, the Board of Education accept the following candidates to be placed on the ballot for the annual meeting and election for the 2024-2025 school year. This order will be announced at the meeting once the 5 p.m. deadline of April 22nd is met. Can I have a motion, please? Motion by Heather, second by Tom. All in favor? Opposed? So carried. Lisa, you want to do the...
As Camille is the witness, we have 3 candidates running: Jennifer Becker, Mike Axius, and Ed Meisel. At this point, I'm going to have Camille pull out the names, that you can all witness, to see how they will be listed on the ballot. Thank you. And then just read the name out.
Mike Bakatsias. Ed Meisel. Jennifer Becker.
Thank you.
So that's the order that'll be placed on the ballot for the May election and budget vote. Okay, under new business, general counsel retainer hours, proposed legal services contract. Be it resolved, the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, approves the attached contract effective for the 2024-2025 school year between Highland Central School District and Thomas, Drohan, Waxman, Pettigrew, and Maley, LLP, as presented at this meeting. Can I have a motion, please? Motion by Janine, second by Heather. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? So carried. Okay, I'll open the meeting back up to public comment.
Status of the middle school situation? Will it be done by September? And also, it was mentioned the increase in the, possible increase in the premium. I did risk management for a major insurance company for 20 years. I can tell you, you're going to get one. And the question also is that I don't see anywhere for an asbestos remediation program for the 3 schools based on their years that they were built. They probably still have asbestos in them, as you found out in the middle school. And I was quite surprised that there was still asbestos in the middle school based on the 2 major contracts that, since I've been here, including 2 additions to that middle school, where at least when I was, my previous position, we went through and removed asbestos 25 years ago because it was noted in 1964, if I remember correctly, that asbestos was a carcinogen and it should be removed, either encapsulated or removed. Prefer to be removed in case you have fire, explosion, etc., because it contaminates the entire building, which is what you're dealing with now. So, will the building be open by September?
The building will be open by September.
Okay.
Barring any unforeseen circumstances, the building will be open by September.
And from what I understand, the insurance is going to cover the cost, all the costs of this issue, including employee overtime, transportation costs, et cetera, for doing what you had to do?
The insurance company at this point has indicated that all of those costs will be covered by the insurance company.
All right. And do we ever get a final report on what the actual cause was? Because I keep looking for, this is what it was caused by, and I still haven't seen anything that gives me a definitive answer to that question. This is what the issue was. I could have missed it.
That's still, that report will come from the insurance company at some point in time. Right now, it's considered an accidental fire.
Caused by what?
That report will come forward.
Okay, snow job, thank you.
Board of Education, one last time, I just want to get up and say, as a unit, the HTA and HSA, and I know our administrators as well, we put in a tremendous amount of work with our politicians this year to try and get them to correct the action. It is sad. We had sent lobbyists up before this budget came out, and we were told that Save Harmless was going to be give back. That was a give me. That was an easy one for them. The hard one was the 3% plus. We were promised by politicians that they were going to champion that for us and work hard to get that to our face, to some of my young members' face, to our faces, to my entire unit. They told us they were going to fight to get that. And on record, I want to say they did not. They did not come through on their promise. They did not follow through in saving positions that they said that they were going to save. I'm going to ask that the board, we have a visitor coming this Thursday. I'm going to ask that she remain in Saugerties. Right now is probably not a time to visit Highland. The proper time would have been within a few days after that fire to come down and see that damage. But I can say that on behalf of our membership here, my membership here, that it's a bit too soon after this burn tonight to visit or to see a politician. So I'm asking the board to just let her know that turn right when she enters the thruway and go up and get us the money that we need.
Mr. Rizzo, that meeting has already been canceled.
Thank you.
Hi, I just wanted to say thank you for all your hard work. I know it was a lot. But I do want to say one other thing. It's a vicious cycle. I'm coming to you as not an employee of this district, as a...
State your name.
What?
Your
Mickey
name.
Munson, sorry. As a mother who has raised 5 children in this district and has loved all of those years. My last one is a senior this year. It's a vicious cycle. I feel like programs get cut and people move out of this town, which is sad, and then enrollment goes down and programs get cut, and it just keeps going around and around, and we have to find some way to fix that. These quality people who I work beside are just incredible, and it's just really sad. So, and another thing to say is to say something like, it's okay, you're a quality person, you'll find something, just go out there, you'll find something, is insensitive and in poor taste at best. Because these people, this is their lives. As Laura Lee said, she bought a house in this town and she invested in this town. And to say things like, don't worry about it, you'll go out there and find something, it's no big deal, it's pretty insensitive. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Anyone else?
It's Kira Herbert again. I just wanted to say this is the first time I've ever done something like this, and I just wanted to say thank you for considering and trying your hardest to help us. And I know this is kind of the middle road kind of option, but it's really like showing how hard you guys are working to try to help us in our program. And I just wanted to say I didn't realize how hard of a decision this was, and I'm really thankful that everything is trying to be considered. And I just hope this doesn't become like a snowball, just building and building. I really want this to work out, and I'm grateful that we considered and tried this hard. Thank you.
Okay, if there's no other public comment speakers, we'll close public comment, and I'll ask the board for motion to adjourn. Motion by Heather, second by Janine. All those in favor? Opposed?